Ladies and gentlemen, 3, 2, 1, and Gary.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gary and Kenny Show. I'm Gary Kroger in Waterloo, Iowa. And?
Oh, geez, this is the part I'm supposed to think of who I am.
Kenny.
Shit. Don Quixote in Calabasas, California. I'm Don. You can call me Donald Quixote.
All right, Donald. All right.
Okay.
And now that bit's over, I can call you Kenny, right?
Yeah, but how come nobody? You hear people Don Quixote. It's like they never say Don, come over here.
Right.
Mr. Quixote. It's always together. Don Quixote. It's never
Don
like
Quixote. It's never Mr. Quixote.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Do you want me to call you Don this show?
I'm just saying it'd be a funnier book if in the book he was called Donald Quixote.
Or Donnie. Yeah. Early in his.
There's Donald Duck. It wasn't Don Duck. It's funnier when it's Donald.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we digress.
You think?
You think? Anyway, Don Quixote, aka Kenny Seisler in Calabasas, California, is the Kenny part of the Gary and Kenny Show. Kenny, we usually start with what's going on. I mean, there's a lot of topical stuff we can talk about later. I mean, Supreme Court.
Oh my God!
Tentative decisions. David Chappelle and what
every day just seems to be ruined more and more.
I was having a conversation. Actually, it turned into an argument with my brother yesterday, and we were on sort of different sides of some of these fences. And his feeling was, he says, "No, it's always been this way. It's just that now we have the means to record it. We have cameras going up and on airplanes.
No,
I some racist woman get thrown off the plane.
I get that. I get the whole concept, but that it always happened. But the point is, it would happen, but we wouldn't know about it. Therefore, it wouldn't ruin our day."
It didn't ruin our day. Okay.
It's like, what is that thing? If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it?
Did a bear still shit? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
So, well, yes. And it does ruin our day. And it's collectively creating a lot of anxiety. Mental health issues are increasing. Hospital stays are increasing. Bills are increasing. People are
podcasts. You know how many podcasts there are out there now?
Over 3.5 billion.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. But people are leaving their jobs. There's dissatisfaction. I just did an event for domestic abuse.
Boy, this show is just full of funny, isn't it?
We're up 43% in the number of abuse cases since the beginning of COVID. And that's because people are stressed. That's what I'm talking about.
Everything is a drag. Tell me one piece of good news.
My lawn is an emerald green.
A good news for me, like I could give a shit. I guess that's good news.
We can't see your messy office.
Ah,
you've used technology.
I don't think. I was really there must be some good news out there, isn't there? You see? Okay, I stumped you. Speaking of good news, why don't you make the segue?
Speaking of good news, we have a great guest today.
Maybe that's the good news.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr.
And
Good
I'd like
News.
to qualify that we always have good guests, or we wouldn't ask them onto the show. I became aware of Jeff Richards many years ago with Saturday Night Live, and we'll talk about Drunk Girl in a few moments. But that's when I first became aware of Jeff Richards. Jeff Richards is a comedian. He's been a stand-up comic. He has the dubious distinction of being the first, if not, maybe there are two, comic actors who were on Madtv and Saturday Night Live. He now has a podcast, which is fantastic. It's called The Jeff Richards Show, and we'll talk about his incredible impersonations. Jeff Richards, welcome to the Gary and Kenny Show.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. And it's great to be here. And Gary, you were on the show, and it's a testimonial to not only your talent, but to Willem Dafoe's and your relationship with Willem Dafoe, et cetera, and et cetera.
Thank you for pointing that out, because, Willem Dafoe interviewed me, and it is typically kind of weird Willem Dafoe-ishness.
Well, I'm just doing the best I can. I hope that was all right. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, good. Okay.
All right. Wow. All right. Let's start with this. Okay.
Okay.
People who don't know the Jeff Richards Show, Jeff morphs into famous people that we know. Dustin Hoffman, David Letterman, Willem Dafoe. I mean, there's Al Pacino, and he interviews people. I was, in fact, a guest, and Willem Dafoe interviewed me.
Oh, Jeff. Okay. I didn't see that.
Yeah. Jeff, what comes first? Do you find somebody, imitate, then morph, then find a new wrinkle in their character? I'm watching you as David Letterman, current David Letterman, interviewing Robin Williams.
Yeah.
What came first? What is the process?
It doesn't make any particular sense. If I'm doing David Letterman and you're listening to David Letterman, you're thinking to yourself, well, that seems to sound like David Letterman. It's not any preposition or juxtaposition. Do you know what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, and then when you morph the face, I showed your last show to my brother that, I was telling you about earlier. And he has said, okay, so David Letterman is interviewing Robin Williams. Had no idea that there was some sort of magic going on.
Yeah. Well, that's the deep fake partly. I mean, the voice can sound good. The mannerisms are good, but the look is where it gets kind of, that creepy, that deep fake, where they put the overlay on your face and it really looks like the guy.
How did you do? I saw the thing where you did Robert Downey Jr. How did you get that overlay of Robert Downey Jr.?
Well, it's like ordering like a latte or like, some French fries. You just can't do it, Like,
it is that easy?
It's ethereal. It's strange. It's acquiesce. It's acquiesce.
That is incredible.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always liked, doing radio interviews where they'll just set you up and just start interviewing you as an impression that you do on the radio. I used to love that format, but I thought in terms of like a Phil Hendry show or trying to pull that off, I couldn't get anywhere near that. So for years, I just thought I couldn't do it. And then when the pandemic happened and you could get guests on Zoom, and the guests are looking straight forward at the camera, so the overlay works good and you're not moving this way or that way, so it doesn't get blurred.
Right.
So they were like, well, if we did this Zoom podcast, you could deep fake the guys. And then it was like, okay, so if we can deep fake it, then now we can get away with it and have a guest and do it like that.
But is that deep fake? Is that an additional software kind of thing that they use to overlay it? It is. Okay.
Computer software that Scott Welsh does the deep fakes and he's just great. And, it's just this kind of thing where other people can figure it out, but they never do it very well.
This thing is dangerous, isn't it?
Well, I was thinking, my brother asked the question, is there a legal ramification here? Because you could have David Letterman looking as David Letterman. No one would question it saying, I like 13-year-old boys. Right? I mean,
right.
Is there an area that is touchy?
I guess it's just like, if it falls into the parody, it's got to be parody.
Yeah.
If it's parody, you can get away with it. But if somebody goes, oh, you're not really joking around, well, then I guess you're screwed. But, that's up to someone else to decide.
Yeah.
But these are just, I think people can also, because I don't make it, some of the clips I make much bigger, like blown up. So you can tell it's not them.
Right.
But when they're that small, like what I did with you, Gary, those ones were, they were smaller, so you could lose your reality with it. You can just kind of fall into it and think that that's the person, because not everyone has.
But when I'm doing it with you, it's you on a green screen, and I'm looking at you sounding like Willem Dafoe, right? You're not using anything to sort of look at Willem Dafoe, so you don't see Willem Dafoe either when you're doing it. It's
no, and neither, and the guest doesn't, just like you didn't, you don't see it. And so you have to, and also when I had the allergies, I forgot to take Allegra D, because you take these other things, they don't have a decongestant. So my nose was running on a lot of these episodes, but I couldn't put my hands in front of my face to wipe it.
Right.
So I was just letting it run. And I was giving Gary Busey one show, and this woman, this great comedian, Esther Koo, was on there, and she wasn't just playing it straight. She was like, oh, I think you have a booger.
Oh, geez.
And I just try to pretend I didn't know as Gary Busey. Like, no, I don't. Do I? No, I don't.
Fortunately, you were doing Gary Busey. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I did. It did.
Yeah. Hey, let's go back in time a bit, Jeff, because again, we have an audience that really likes to hear how comics in particular started out and so on and so forth. you are from Walnut Creek, right?
Yeah.
North of San Francisco.
Yeah.
I dated a girl from Walnut Creek, by the way.
Well, might have been me.
It might have been. She was deep fake.
Was she drunk?
Well, we'll get into drunk girl. So how did it start for you? Stand-up comedy? I mean, how did it start?
It started with like Eddie Murphy doing stand-up. Delirious. I think I was 10 years old when I saw it, and just going, oh, that looks fun. And then it was Kids in the Hall. Oh, I like how they're playing all these characters. And then I was doing impressions at that time. I was doing like teachers and students. So I had that kind of like that early ability to do it, but I didn't know how it would work out or what I would do and all that. And then public access, I did a public access TV show my senior year of high school. And, just over time, until I finally tried stand-up when I was 22 or 23. And I just loved it, fell in love with it. And I just did impressions. And that's pretty much what I did for a while. Then I started doing characters, but always been impressions and characters.
Jeff, do you have a number on the number of people that you do impressions of?
I don't know exactly how many, but it's somewhere around 30.
Okay.
Or so.
All right. 30.
Is that what
But
led
there's,
you? Oh, go ahead.
no, there's always so many I can do, like in the style of my show, like I can't just, some of them I could do a little bit, I can do it for, but the ones I do about 14, 15 on my show that I can just run loose in.
Right. When some of your stuff is just unbelievable. It's incredible. But I do have this question. Some of the references and the people that you're doing, young people don't even know who those people are.
Yeah, that's kind of what you're up against. With impressions, it's like, and especially as we've got more and more splintered with what people watch, and you have Netflix and Hulu and regular TV and cable and PBS. Some people
you're not gonna be able to please anybody. Yeah.
I used to do a lot of different impressions that I just stopped doing because nobody knows. But that's what I like about this show and doing it on the internet, because people come to you to watch it. So it's not like I trap them at a show, and they don't know all these people I'm doing. Yeah, it's like, if you don't know this one, well, you just don't know this one. It's always something you face, because not everybody knows everything.
Oh yeah, no, I was actually thinking that there are so many people who are famous celebrities now that I've never heard of, because they're stars on the internet, on Instagram and all of that. And they literally, they could be somebody comes up and says, I'm doing an impersonation of so-and-so. Well, that there was an influencer, and everybody in the audience goes, it's hysterical, because everybody knows the influencer.
Right.
But now, we're not all that same reality where it was one big star and everybody would do the big star. There's a lot of big stars out there that nobody knows.
Yeah. And I like to, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I just like to do the ones that are more favorites, do those more often. Because a lot of people don't know Willem Dafoe, or they don't know they know him, you know.
But what was interesting from my perspective was, and I was a little bit of a fish out of water, because I didn't know your show up at that point. And I think I was trying to be funny as myself, and you were better than me. No. But in any context, even if somebody didn't know Willem Dafoe, you were an odd character. You asked what flavor of bubble gum that I like. It was an entertaining show regardless.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like, you have to just, if you don't know who it is that I'm doing, you just enjoy it, try to enjoy it the best you can. I mean,
do you look for contemporary, like people out there that maybe are just starting to, like a Will Smith, or more contemporary than, some of this, or who's a new young actor? What's that, the kid Chalamet? I wonder if people, you look at that and go, hey, I should do it. They have a unique voice, and that would be kind of, a lot of people know who that is because they're a contemporary big star.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Like if they know Timothée Chalamet from movies, well, what's he like when he talks in an interview? Well, so you have to watch the interview. So then, and his face is too thin for my face. Like, see, I have a thicker, rounder face.
Right.
So if you put his face on my face, it's gonna stretch it out, and now I'm gonna look like
So this is the
Danny
way.
DeVito or
So when you look around at people, you kind of know right away whether or not they're going to fit in your ballpark,
They're
right?
going to fit
Little
your
bit.
face.
Yeah.
they're gonna fit my face. Yeah, they gotta
Yeah.
fit my face.
It looked like Timothy Chalamet with prednisone, perhaps.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
With
Now, the reason I like the Willem Dafoe and all of your characters is you really embody them and you start to think like them, which is why I loved Drunk Girl. Now, I know you didn't go right to Madtv and then to SNL, but you went to Madtv, you went to SNL. SNL is where I got to know you, and it was Tina introduced Drunk Girl. You come out, and you are somebody that we all know, that we've met, that we've encountered. It's a certain kind of pathological intoxication. You embodied this girl. And as an actor, I'm looking at you going, you're fearless. You are in like a halter top and your belly is here and you're drunk.
Hey,
and
stop turning me on.
yeah.
Where did Drunk Girl come from, Jeff?
Well, it was based on my father originally. No, just kidding. No, it's I was actually doing a show in San Diego, and one of the crowd members, this woman, was drunk and she kept yelling at me, and I was talking to her as myself, trying to calm her down, and then I just decided I'm just gonna mock her. This is the best way to beat this out. So I just started doing her to her, and it kind of stumped her and got her to be quiet.
Sobered her up?
Yeah,
She
sobered
quieted
her
down?
up. So it's like, she's like, I hate you. I'm like, shut up, bitch. Come here. What do you want? And it just kind of became this back and forth thing that diffused it.
I'm
a
curious, in today's
butterfly.
do you think that you could get away with doing that today?
Where?
On
Anywhere.
SNL.
SNL,
Well, I
for
think
example.
it would confuse people these days. That is what you're going for.
Yeah,
I think you could totally do it and be totally fine. It's just like everybody has a problem with everything. So
exactly. That's what I mean.
You'd
That's
be
what you're up
accused of being a
against.
misogynist, even though what you're doing
Even
is you're
Well,
even though-
making fun of drunk people, who I'm sure
Okay.
they have,
Yeah, even though you're just a person on a show picking a
Right.
comedy idea, you don't run a network.
right.
Exactly. It's
And the satire was a human condition with alcohol that
Yeah.
was recognizable. It worked because this person was recognizable. It was
Right.
fantastic.
and that's, I think, the biggest thing is you just keep stopping people from being creative and expressing themselves, and you just create more division. I can't make fun of anyone but a white person that's 47 years old.
Well, I was going to ask you about that.
That's a man.
I mean, I know, but do you do diversified? You can say
You're
Billy
even afraid to
Crystal.
say colored.
No,
black.
no, yeah, Billy Crystal would do Ali, Sammy Davis Jr., all of those things.
Right.
I'm curious in today's environment whether or not you would get pushback if you were doing a black person's voice or Chinese. You can't Chinese. I can't imagine that would. I'm sure people would find that insulting.
Well, you're definitely gonna have problems from groups of people for sure, and it'll be problematic. I mean, one of my favorite impressionists and comedians that have been on my show is Josh Robert Thompson, who does a spectacular Morgan Freeman. And it's so perfect that you really can't get up in arms about it. But you can. Of course, there are people that will. But I think everything has to be considered in, what is your intent? What are you trying to do? And how dangerous is what you're doing? Everything's not dangerous. This is not all dangerous. It's, what are you doing with it? What are you trying to do? It's not blackface. It's voices and characters. I do a Cuban gentleman from the Laugh Factory in Las Vegas, and he talks like this. He's doing really good, my son is doing really good. The other day made a paper airplane. He threw it out the window really far. One day he's gonna be a pilot. I messed that joke up, but you get the idea. It's like, I love George from the Laugh Factory. He happens to be Cuban. I'm doing an impression of someone I like.
Yes.
Where are we getting upset about?
Right. You have to do the voice. And if it's a person of color, it's
Well,
improved if there's
I don't-
shading toward that color.
I don't know. It's getting to talking about danger. Let's talk about what happened to Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
What do we know outside of the some
Okay,
crazed fan
so
came up
just
and
anybody
threatened him?
hasn't heard, Dave Chappelle was part of this Netflix is a Joke festival and was playing at the Hollywood Bowl. And in the middle of his set, some guy ran up to and attacked him, tackled him. And then he was pulled off by security. It turns out that he had a phony gun and a knife on him.
But the
and-
gun produced a knife. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't, it was still kind of like, we don't know. And then I just heard somebody, and this again, this is just stuff that I read, that it was a trans person who was upset at, oh, no, I take that back. That Dave Chappelle said as a joke to the audience, it was a trans person. Because, the trans people don't,
Right.
he is, I don't know. Now that has caused all kinds of uproar that he said that about, it was a trans person from the trans people who make it sound like trans people did it.
But we don't know the motive of that person yet. That hasn't been
No,
divulged.
but now the big thing is not, forget about that. Now it's the
It's the
uproar
joke.
over the joke where he said
right.
that was a trans woman. So
okay.
everybody has to kind of unwind your
Right.
reality. Which was the biggest offense?
Jeff, you start.
Well, I don't think, it's, if a comedian can't say things, if you can't say things, I mean, again, it goes to the intent, what you're doing. He's a comedian on stage. At what point will we come to where no one can say anything about anything?
We're
And
getting
the more
close.
you stop telling people they can't say things, the more you're going to not be able to say things.
And
I
that's
know.
the context. It's a comedian. And now if you structure a joke, that's a good joke that he came up with spontaneously because of the controversy with the trans community, right? So he's attacked and he says, well, it was a trans. That is in function a good joke.
Yeah. And even if it wasn't a good joke, he should be able to say what he wants to say, especially on stage as a comedian in a comic venue. I mean,
Right.
he's bringing, people forget comedians bring levity to things. They're bringing levity, and that's what he was doing in that moment, diffusing that.
Well, that's how I see it. But Kenny, I saw your face do something different when I said it was a good joke.
No,
Are you disagreeing?
no. It has nothing to do whether it's a good joke or a bad joke. I agree with Jeff completely. It's a joke.
Yeah.
But here's the thing is this coming right off the heels of the Will Smith incident? And which after that, everybody went, comics are going to need security, and they kind of said it, but nobody believed it. And then this happens. Is it copycat? Or did it open the door for people to feel more inclined to violence? And that's
I think
and
it's
the question.
another-
And I'm going to ask Jeff this question. Jeff, you still go out on the road and do stand up?
Mhm.
I'd
Yeah.
be curious to see if people start to talk about security at the comedy clubs. What do you think, Jeff?
I mean, I think, comedy clubs, they don't even quiet down hecklers,
Right.
It's like, they just let it loose. I mean, it depends, like bigger names, they'll be more protective of the situation and the performer. But I don't know. I don't know. It's two instances. One was Will Smith doing it. So it's not exactly like a guy from this, from nowhere. And then whoever this person was. So really we have one person from the public really doing something out of how many shows people, so.
Sure.
Well,
I mean,
hopefully, yeah.
I think it's to get, I don't know why these things happen, but they're always framed in a way to scare everyone. So I don't.
But I think this goes back to Kenny, your question at the beginning. Are we creating a world that is more hypersensitive, et cetera, and
Well, we
getting
already
and
did.
being upset?
Yeah.
I do think, even though these are semi-isolated events, and to your point, they're not happening all the time, but I do think we're seeing a higher occurrence, and we're going to continue seeing a higher occurrence because we're being trained to be pissed off. We're being trained to be offended. We're given so little latitude now by which to accept things, adjust to things.
Yeah.
Remember when
Everything's
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead,
it's
Jeff.
just everything's so crazy. Everything's so crazy. We got to lock it all down and knock everything out. Nobody says anything. And we just got to make sure nothing. I mean, you know, what's worse? I don't know.
Well, the thing that I'm curious about is that these kind of things have happened before where people gain national attention for doing something stupid. Remember streakers?
Yeah.
The whole idea was I could have my 15 minutes of fame. And so, and that became, people would copycat that. And I'm just wondering whether or not you're going to have some copycat people out here who are going to do it because they're going to have that one instance of fame for attacking a comedian. I don't know. I hope not. But I'm saying the idea of copycatting has occurred before. I don't want to frighten you, Jeff. I think
I'm not.
hey,
listen,
I can promise you shows like Saturday Night Live are increasing security.
I'm a black belt, jujitsu.
Well, there you go.
Let's make sure everybody knows that in your introduction when they introduce you.
It's a lie, though. It's a lie.
I can promise you a live comedy show like Saturday Night Live has a heightened awareness and security around it, because what seems to be happening is what used to be a demilitarized zone, a line you simply wouldn't cross. People are kind of going, yeah, I can cross that line now. You know, I can rush the stage.
Yeah.
You know, anyway.
But I think it's like, no matter how much security you have, you're always going to have someone that's going to get around the security. So if people want to do, they're going to do what they want to do. I mean, but I don't know. It's just it's bizarre. Obviously, it's all bizarre. I mean,
it is bizarre.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Speaking of bizarre,
good segue.
I'm just trying to make a segue. It's not really bizarre, but I've always wanted to know, Jeff, you left SNL on your own volition. Are you willing to talk about?
No, I did not leave. I did not leave on my own volition.
Well.
But
are you?
But we all
weren't
leave.
happy,
I mean,
though. You weren't happy.
I walked out of the building myself.
Okay, they didn't.
No,
security
they didn't have to cart me out.
Well, but you didn't love the SNL experience.
I did love it. I did love it the first.
Okay,
then
I know nothing of what I'm talking about.
We had almost the same experience. I mean, it was like 3 years. We had a lot of fun, a lot of good times, and then it just stopped at 3 years.
Yeah,
you know, what are you gonna do? I mean, some people don't even get the audition. Like they audition and they don't get it.
I'm thankful for every second of it. You know, I felt underused. And when I got to know you, I felt that you were underused. I mean, I felt like, you know, I would have targeted you like, okay, he's going to blow up in here. And they just didn't seem to use you week to week. You'd have a great show. And then like,
well, that goes right back to that whole thing we were talking about on the show. It's like, you have 20 people on a show. Someone's not going to get food. You know, there's not enough to go around. And but I got to get in a lot of sketches just from doing impressions, so I was pretty lucky on that. But I do feel like just definitely, I mean, I just started doing stand-up when I got on there, you know, maybe 3 years I'd been doing stand-up, so I hadn't exhausted all of my, you know, efforts to come up with new things, and I hadn't had, you know, years of characters under my belt. So I was kind of running, you know, it was like, you know, that whole thing of like, it takes I mean, you do your first album and that's fine, but then coming up with the second album.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a tough place to try to survive. And I didn't really know how to write sketches. I didn't know how to do that. So, you know, that's almost a kiss of death if you can't write for yourself.
Well, and for those who don't know, you know, there's a cast, and you had 20, we had, I don't know how many, 15 people, but there are also 24 writers who want to get their material on the show, and they're going to write for those people that are vehicles for their material to get them on. In my case, it was Eddie Murphy and Joe Piscopo. So, you know, we sort of, well, it sounds like I'm sour grapes and complaining, but
it's so hard.
There's a lot of competition.
When it's so hard to answer the question and make it seem like I'm fine, because it brings back, you know, memories that aren't good, but I was good. And when I think, and anytime that somebody goes, oh my God, I can't believe you're on there, you feel good. And you go, I'm special a little bit.
We're in a very small club. I would have loved to have continued for several more years, but see, I didn't have stand-up to go into. You did. So what happened right after Saturday Night Live?
Right after Saturday Night Live, I went right back into stand-up pretty much, and just got real experimental, and, you know, started just doing a lot of improvisation on stage and off. And that's pretty much what I did. Then I just, tried to audition for things, got some things here and there.
I was watching online, you were getting interviewed by local stations in cities that you would travel to do your act, and you would come on to promote those shows. And it was always kind of weird. These news people try hard to ask like interesting questions. You're there just to you have to answer in a voice every time in some kind of a person, because you want to get people to come to your show to hear the impersonations.
Right. I want to throw off the newscaster. I had a phase of that for a few years where it's like, he just wants it to go just right.
Mhm.
And I want it to get off the rails.
Right.
And it's a 3-minute interview. And, that was just fun to do, especially in San Diego.
That was San Diego?
I think that one was.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I just felt your pain. Like they were trying to ask you serious questions. Like, how do you do that? How do you do the impersonation? And you're just answering in somebody else's voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, people are more likely to see the show by what you were doing.
Right.
Just,
Absolutely.
an up with people kind of interview.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing too. Radio, older comedians always told me when you get radio interviewed, make sure you get your bits out or your impressions out, because they'll just talk to you and then no one will know how funny you are.
Right.
And,
Exactly.
And
right.
No one will go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, I'm dying to know. Your show is terrific. It is so entertaining, and
is it called Deep Fake? It's deep. Is it?
No, it's the Jeff Richards Show.
Oh, okay.
The Jeff Richards Show.
But he does mention Deep Fake. When I was watching it, Deep Fake gets mentioned a few times.
Yeah, but okay. It's so entertaining, and I want to encourage people more and more to go. You got a great fan base. You get great response. You get great guests, and I'd love to know how you get these guests.
The exercise of just doing them, I don't know though, because I can't own Robert Downey Jr. like this,
Right.
Well,
right.
I was going to point out that, for the way that comedians got to monetize or take advantage of their appearances was it would show their headshot, and then it would list the TV shows, The Tonight Show, at the Improv, all under it. That's what the billboard would be for that comedian. I'm curious now if you're going to get to a point where you're going to go YouTube views, Instagram likes, showing, how many people have watched your show. Because it's gotten to the point where how many followers you have is almost bigger than appearing on any of these other shows.
Well, that's right. You get the followers, and then you have the, the connection with like, here's a show I'm doing, and then you can blast it out to more people, and they'll come more likely. But I look at it too. It's just that, if this was a regular podcast and didn't have any deep fakes, it would still be important because of just the very act of doing it, and like reaching out and getting guests. You kind of like, you're in their world for a week, where they're thinking about your podcast, and they had, that maybe they'll have you on yours, like Gary, now I'm doing yours. So it's like, I just like the community energy of the internet and being able to do, to make things and just have that expand into other things.
Right. Jeff, list some of your guests that you've had, real guests, real humans.
Bill Burr.
Yes.
Alec Baldwin.
Tim Robbins was on the show, wasn't he?
No.
All
Bob
right,
Saget.
cut that out. But Saget was, yes. Are you just calling them up because they're friends?
Some of them I definitely worked with, knew. I asked someone to get me someone. Sometimes I ask them, to refer me to someone. Just racking my brain, like, and then just people I've encountered or known over the years, like Kato Kalin. I did that.
Yeah,
Patrick
Kato was
Bateman,
a good show. Yeah.
Patrick Bateman from American Psycho,
right.
with him, and
right.
and John Lovitz. Yeah, I mean, I never asked anybody for any favors over these years, and then I just thought, oh, this is the time.
And we sort of touched. Go ahead.
I don't want to encourage anybody to do a podcast by saying this, but I've really enjoyed doing this podcast because it's really easy and simple. Like if you had to do a TV show, it's a lot of people, it's a lot of, pain in the ass. But having these talk shows and we're doing it, this is great. It's fun. It's I enjoy it. Again, I don't want to encourage any more people to have a podcast.
There are enough podcasts.
There's enough. It's full. There's no more allowed.
Well, just think though, too, people are dropping out every second.
Of course.
People start them up and then they're done the next day.
Hey, Jeff, I want to touch on something we sort of touched on too, and it's to interest people in your podcast that listen to our show or watch our show. They're also very good interviews, even though you may be Robert Downey Jr. interviewing Alec Baldwin. You're getting a side to Alec Baldwin who's participating in a little different way. Do you know what I mean? They're playing with who you are being and answering questions as themselves, and that makes them a little more revealing, I find. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I think it's definitely, interviewing someone as an impression makes it a little more fun for someone, or it gets them on their feet too.
Yeah.
That they have to approach it differently and think about the questions and how they want to go and how they want to come off. I think people like coming on the show, and
I think so too.
Are there I don't know. I mean, I guess I had my favorites, but in your repertoire, are there the voices that you no longer want to hear anymore, but people keep asking for? And are there the voices that you like just have more fun to do?
Yeah, I mean, they're like doing Letterman and doing like Jimmy Fallon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the coolest thing. You got to be kidding me. That's so cool. That's amazing. You want to play a game? Let's play a game.
Yeah.
Like that one's fun to do. Like certain ones are fun. Some of them are harder to do, like Hannibal Lecter and a long interview. You have to really be really focused. And David Attenborough, and it's all about who you pair him up with. Like, who's going to complement the other, or who's going to conflict well with the other,
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
I don't know if this is just a semantic thing to you, but it's always meant something to me. I don't consider you an impressionist like David Fry or
Monet.
You're an impersonator. That's how I see it. That to me is more of a genuine characterization,
or just an actor,
just an actor
portraying.
But doesn't the word impersonation, the verb to impersonate?
Because it's
not an imitation, is what I'm saying. That's easy to me.
Let me ask you: is there one you prefer, Jeff?
To do?
No, when somebody says, "Are you an impressionist, an impersonation?" What's the word you use?
I think I mean, impressionist is it makes people think that's because people see impressionists back in the day, and it's like you just see a little glimpse of each little line and
you become
catchphrase.
And that's the distinction I'm trying to reach.
That's why I say actor, just because it's like it's one long improvised scene that's not stand-up. It's more acting. But
now, if someday you'd like to do David Letterman, I was the first person on television to do Paul Schaefer. My first show on SNL, Paul's in the band. I do Paul Schaefer because Piscopo did Letterman. And I remember backstage, Paul going, "Oh, I'm doable. I'd be willing to.
Let's do it.
To do that with you. Not now.
Okay.
Because I want full deep fake. All right, I just throwing that out there. I'm trying to plug myself too.
Got to shave the goatee.
I'd do that for you.
Wow.
Kenny, I wonder if I'd shave my goatee for a request that you made, but for this, I would shave my goatee.
Huh?
I've lost impressionists over having to shave their stuff.
Yeah, you really can't grow facial hair, can you? Because if it's a facial haired character, you can just add that.
Yeah, I've had my whole face has been lasered.
Well, there you have it. There you have
my eyeballs.
Are you working on any new characters? You don't have to say what they are, but I'm sure you probably
Johnny Depp.
Ah, sure. Great.
I'll work on my Amber Heard, and I'll shave, and I won't shave.
Took a poop on my road. I don't know how to do it yet, but
no, do a little bit more.
Well, I wanted to do that.
No,
Thought about it.
I see it. I see it.
Yeah, no,
I
that's a
do.
good one.
And I want to do Joe Rogan, but these are all crude. These are crude stages. I don't know how to do them yet. I was Rogan. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's talk about this other thing, dude. Because you are a pro black belt, and I really like that show. This is a really good protein powder.
Wow.
It's not really good.
Yeah, but you
It
have
is.
a process. Yes, it is. You have a process. You have a technique. You have an ear.
Do
I
You
wanna
Don
do
have some
Quixote.
fine hooks, don't you?
I want to do Charlie
Don-
Rose. Charlie Rose is back. I want to do Charlie Rose.
What do you mean he's back?
Well, he's still
Tell me
alive.
about the 1941. It became a Pulitzer Prize winning author. He was a renowned artist and a writer. That a book became a movie, and a book became a movie again. Welcome. Take me through. I mean, give me a sense of what you. I mean, why do people do? I mean, baseball is use a baseball and a baseball mitt, but why would people become what?
It's very good. It might be a limited audience that understands, but
PBS.
yeah. But even if somebody didn't know that you were doing Charlie Rose,
Still
that's an
character.
interesting character.
Yeah.
Well, the jokes are funny too.
The jokes are funny. The jokes are very funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Don Quixote was a rider in the storm. He also became a Pulitzer Prize winning author and writer. And this year won the Mark Twain Award. He's with me here today. We were talking about this before. But welcome. What is this book? I mean, this is a book. I mean, it's got words in it and, the written in sentences. I mean, give me a sense of what you do. Take me through you.
Yeah.
You are a brilliant improviser.
Well, I'm sort more as an impersonation. Actually, I think he was more acting. Am I right, Jeff? He was more acting.
He was an
Your
actor. He was a
acting
writer. He was a
impersonator
Pulitzer.
is a very, very good improviser.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time. You've given us
Jeff, it was
more
really fun
time
to meet you.
than-
Pleasure.
Yes, well, I've met you before, Jeff. See you soon. We talk
Okay.
about having a little bit of a personal life. I know we live in different places, but as you say, we do share some interesting history. We could commiserate or actually
Yeah.
just share wonderful memories. Of,
Gary likes to
30 Rock.
commiserate.
I love to commiserate, and yeah.
Gary, did you say goodbye to everybody?
Well, no, I haven't said goodbye to anybody yet.
Oh,
I'm just-
okay.
I'm still kind of saying goodbye to Jeff,
Gotcha.
but I'll do that now. Jeff,
Don
thank you very
Quixote
much.
trying to make a quick exit in the movie that became a book that became what? Take me through you, Gary. I mean, talk about your goatee. I mean, people have goatees, but it's like your goatee has a goatee of its own.
Yeah.
I
All right,
want to
sorry.
thank Charlie Rose. I want to thank Don
Yeah.
Quixote,
Yeah.
Jeff Richards, and Kenny Seisler. Thanks for watching or listening to the Gary and Kenny Show. We are on all the popular podcast platforms. We have our own YouTube channel, the Gary and Kenny Show. We'd love it if you would subscribe. And we are also on streaming television. It's called the DBNA TV network. Thanks for watching and or listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jeff.